Yeah, no. I'm just getting this thing ready. What's going on, dudes and dudettes? Of course, let me adjust this light as usual. And yes, so told you I was gonna get a 2019 NFL draft for my LA Chargers. I know there's a lot of these guys. I mean, I think I definitely have probably close to over 100, 150, I want to say, but there's so many guys, like how I've been saying in past videos, that I think that can really help any NFL team, but especially my LA Chargers, for definitely the type of positions that they need. So I just want to run through all the names, at least right now. Then I'll do a separate thing of, I've narrowed them down to my favorite guys, who it's like about 50 of them still. And of course, there's only 7 draft picks as we know of for the LA Chargers, but you never know if they could be adding more. But they're definitely not going to add 50 guys, and they shouldn't add 50 guys. You're definitely not a good organization if you basically add guys from the draft and that's your only team that you have available. But definitely going to run through by position of guys who I like. So let's get it started off with the quarterbacks. Definitely a position of need for the LA Chargers. Of course, a guy in Drew Lock, you already know I'm high on him. Clayton Thorson, the quarterback out of Northwestern. Will Greer out of West Virginia, you know that's my other guy too. Jarrett Stidham out of Auburn. Brett Rypien out of Boise State. Trace McSorley out of Penn State. And Daniel Jones out of Duke. Those are about the 6-7 guys that I think could really benefit with the LA Chargers and who I really trust right now. And you can pick up these guys throughout the whole entire draft, in my opinion. So I think I'll just go with that. Now we'll move on to more of the special guys like running backs and wide receivers. Definitely going to need a running back, especially if you can't come up with a deal for a Melvin Gordon going into his final year of his rookie deal. And also you have to try to replace Tyrell Williams with at least one of these guys, but definitely have more wide receiver options this year. Definitely a lot more guys I like. So let's just get into the names real quick. Miles Saunders from Penn State. David Montgomery out of Iowa State. These are running backs. Benny Snell from Kentucky. LJ Scott from Michigan State. Bryce Love from Stanford. Darrell Henderson from Memphis. Rodney Anderson from Oklahoma. Travis Homer from Miami. Travion Williams from Texas A&M. Quadri Allison from Pittsburgh. And Darwin Thompson out of Utah State, one of the later ads I had. Then our wide receivers, we'll start with Marquise Brown out of Oklahoma. A.J. Brown, Ole Miss. Deebo Samuel, South Carolina. Hakeem Butler, Iowa State. Kelvin Harmon, NC State. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside from Stanford. Andy Isabella from Massachusetts. Emmanuel Hall from Missouri. Gary Jennings from West Virginia. David Sills from West Virginia as well. Terry McLaurin from Ohio State. Also got Hunter Renfrow from Clemson. Jalen Hurd Baylor. Johnny Ursura Hawaii. Greg Dortch Wake Forest. Jovan Durante Florida Atlantic University. Dax Raymond from Utah State. And Deontay Johnson from Toledo. I think my light might be going out, so I'll try to definitely rush through the next few if I can. And these positions that are tight ends and guys who are also could be running backs or wide receivers at the next level, in my opinion. So starting with the tight ends, Caleb Wilson from UCLA. Kahali Waring from San Diego State University. Caden Smith from Stanford. Tommy Sweeney, Boston College. And Isaac Nada from Georgia. And then these are the combo guys. Cavante Turpin from TCU, who kind of mixed if he could even be drafted or if he's just going to be a free agent, because he did have some off the field issues. So maybe he could just come as a free agent. You don't have to waste a pick on him. And also Tony Pollard from Memphis. Then I want to get to the tackles real quick. So Cody Ford out of Oklahoma. Greg Little, Ole Miss. Caleb McGarry, Washington. Dalton Reisner, Kansas State. Titus Howard, Alabama State. David Edwards, Wisconsin. Yandy Kajus, West Virginia. Chuma Edoga, USC. Mitch Hyatt, Clemson. And Isaiah Prince, Ohio State. Now to go for the guards and centers, who are the more inside guys, not the outside guys. A few guys as well. Chris Lindstrom from Boston College. Eric McCoy, Texas A&M. Garrett Bradbury, North Carolina State. Michael Jordan, Ohio State. Michael Dieter from Wisconsin. Connor McGovern from Penn State. Nate Davis from Charlotte. Ross Piersenbacher from Alabama. Elkin Jenkins, I don't remember if he's from Texas A&M or Mississippi State. I don't know. Those colors are very similar. Then Ryan Bates, also from Penn State. Bobby Evans, also from Oklahoma. Keaton Sutherland from Texas A&M. Lucius McNeil from Louisville. Malcolm Prigden from Ohio State as well. Leonard Bonner from Arkansas State. Sean Krebs from Nevada. And Halti Frodalt from Arkansas. Late ad. Definitely head into the players that at the positions that the Chargers definitely need on the defensive line and defensive tackle as well, along with the ends. So Zach Allen, Boston College. Chase Winovich, Michigan. Ben Bonaghu, TCU. Joe Jackson, Miami. Anthony Nelson, Iowa. Jalen Jelks, Oregon. Max Crosby from Eastern Michigan. Porter Gustin from USC. Charles Omenihu from Texas. LJ Collier from TCU. Sharif Miller from Penn State. Tim Ward from Old Dominion. Jonathan Ledbetter from Georgia. Byron Cowart from Maryland. Corbin Kafusi from BYU. And Carl Granderson from Wyoming. Now we'll go into the defensive tackles, which are more the inside guys, not the ends. So Ed Oliver in Houston. Christian Wilkins, Clemson. Jermont Jones, Ohio State. Chris Slayton from Syracuse. Gerald Willis III from Miami. Daniel Wise from Kansas. PJ Johnson from Arizona. DeMarcus Christmas from Florida State. Rennell Wren from Arizona State. Daylon Mack from Texas A&M. Ed Alexander from LSU. Devontavious Russell from Auburn. Kalen Saunders from Western Illinois. Not Illinois. Greg Caines from Washington. Kevin Givens from Penn State. Tristan Hill, UCF. And Albert Huggins from Clemson. Now let's just try to get into these linebackers real quick, which is a need, in my opinion, that Chargers need, but they never seem to pay attention. So Chase Hansen from Utah. Ryan Connolly from Wisconsin. Jamal Davis II from Akron. Nate Hall, Northwestern. David Long, West Virginia. Joe Giles Harris from Duke. Dre Greenlaw from Arkansas. Devin Bush, Michigan. Trey Lamar, Clemson. Mac Wilson, Alabama. Jermaine Pratt, North Carolina State. Tavon Cooney from Notre Dame. Blake Cashman from Minnesota. Cameron Smith from USC. TJ Edwards from Wisconsin. Sione Takitaki from BYU. Jeff Allison from Fresno State. Ty Summers from TCU. And Gary Johnson from Texas. And to go with the defensive backs and special teams as well real quick. So Greedy Williams from LSU. Byron Murphy from Washington. David Long from Michigan. Lonnie Johnson Jr. from Kentucky. Isaiah Johnson from Houston. Amon Marshall from USC. Montre Hardage from Northwestern. Hamp Chevers from Boston College. And Savion Smith from Alabama. Now to go into safeties. Jonathan Abrams from Mississippi State. Darnell Savage from Maryland. Juan Thornwell from Virginia. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from Florida. Nasir Adderley from Delaware. Mike Bell, Fresno State. Deontay Thompson, Alabama, and Will Harris from Boston College. Now let's get into some more safeties. Marvell Tell III from USC, Mike Edwards from Kentucky, Andrew Wingard from Wyoming, and Zeke Woods from Ole Miss. Now to get into the punters, because right now Chargers don't have a punter on their roster, and they just had Donnie Jones, and he's a very old guy, so I doubt they're going to bring him back again. So the top guys right now are Jack Fox from Rice, Jack Bailey, Stanford, Mitch Wishnowsky from Utah, and Corey Fatoni from Missouri. Now these guys are these last few guys are maybe going to be in the 7th round, or most likely undrafted free agents in my opinion, just based off of the schools are coming out. But you know, the Chargers always seem to go after these guys anyway. So Ronheen Bigham from Arkansas State, BJ Faro from Liberty, Cam Hilton from Missouri. So Bingham is a defensive end, BJ Faro is a wide receiver, Cam Hilton is a safety from Missouri, PJ Locke III is a defensive back from Texas, Adarius Pickett is a safety from UCLA, BJ Autry is a guard from Jacksonville State, Devon Jernigan is a defensive back from Lamar, and Corey Turner is a safety from Louisiana Lafayette. And then so now I'm going to basically cut all those names down. Those are definitely names you should be able to look at, and you'll definitely hear their names called in a few days, but you'll definitely see them making plays and lasting long in the NFL, in my opinion, unless they use performance-enhancing drugs or get caught doing some domestic violence, some BS like that as usual. But now I'm going to cut these whole things down to probably my top 50, and definitely at the positions that the Chargers need, and not just, you know, name all these names. They're definitely going to be these are definitely my favorite players going into this draft, and I hope that we get at least some of them. I know I got at least 2 the last year, and hopefully we get a little bit more, but let's get on to that. Going on, dudes and dudettes? Yes, today is the 2019 NFL Draft. It's like Christmas for me. I prefer this as a holiday compared to like even New Year's Eve, but that's just my opinion. And I told you guys I would get it down to about 50 some odd players of like the almost 200 that I gave you the other time, I guess earlier in this video. But right now, I'm just gonna cut it down, show you my favorite players, guys who I think can make a difference for the LA Chargers in my opinion. Of course, they're not going to listen to me, but let's just stick with the first round first. So obviously guys who I really like, who are probably not even going to be available, but you never know because some mock drafts have them dropping for different like specific reasons. But Drew Lock, obviously the quarterback out of Missouri, really high on him. Also a guy in Ed Oliver, for some reason they have him dropping pretty low, and I think if he's available, especially at that position, the Chargers are going to want to move up to get him. That's just what I think. Also guys on the offensive line, like guys like Cody Ford, Dalton Reisner, Greg Little, and a Garrett Bradbury, a Chris Lindstrom, or Eric McCoy. I think all those guys are in play, especially late in the first round. They might not even be available because now they've gotten too much attention ever since I've been bringing them up, obviously. But hopefully one of those guys could stick because you could always use some offensive line help. Then if you go on the defensive side, other than Ed Oliver, there's Christian Wilkins. He was going to be my first round pick last year if he were to come out, but of course he went back another year. And usually that kind of hurts a guy if he's 1 year older, but obviously he performed very well and he's going to be selected. Some people have him probably at number 6, which I can't even believe that they would do that, but I still hope he's available for the Chargers because that's a big need at that position. Devin Bush is another guy I really like, the linebacker out of Michigan. I think he's really good, even though he's a little bit undersized, but he's really fast, really strong. I think the Chargers are missing one of those type of linebackers who's very versatile, but hopefully he's available, but he's going to probably be picked top 10. Another guy also, Greedy Williams, another guy I really like at the cornerback position. He's the only real guy I like at the cornerback position. Everybody else I can kind of live without, even like a Byron Murphy, who's coming off a shoulder injury from Washington. Everybody else I think you get later, third or fourth, fifth rounds, but even I don't have those guys in my top 40 guys available for the Chargers because I don't think they're as good as difference makers as these guys I have right here. But let me just look. Also, Nasir Adderley, he's a safety out of Delaware. I usually don't trust guys who are coming out of Division II schools, especially to be picked in the first round. But the Chargers always seem to make a crazy pick like that, and he actually is pretty talented, so I wouldn't mind him to be paired up with Derwin James back there, their other first round pick from last year. But let's get on to the second round picks. Now for the second round picks, these are obviously guys who could get picked late in that first round, but I honestly think if there's better guys available, Chargers should just wait. But a lot of these guys might be gone as well, but that's just where the Chargers are picking. That's the luck they drew this year. But as far as another quarterback, I like Will Grier a lot out of West Virginia. I think he's not being talked a lot, which means he could be still here. Because if you kind of wait till the third and fourth round where he's projected, I think he's going to be gone before the Chargers even have a chance. And as we go to wide receivers, Deebo Samuel, another guy I was really high on last year if he were to come out, but he went back because he did get injured that year and he just wanted to prove that he could still play. And he did pretty okay for the team he's on. I still think he's very versatile. You can use him running back, wide receiver, even on special teams as well. Another, this is going to be a pretty much, no, I'm going to save the wide receivers for the third round. But another wide receiver would be Hakeem Butler. He's a pretty big guy out of Iowa State. He's a very physical guy. He always beat his defenders every single time, so I think he'd be really palatable on the offensive for the Chargers. And then another guy with a pretty weird name, Kahale Warring. He's a tight end out of San Diego State. And surprisingly, with that name, he's a white guy. But he did look pretty good as far as some of the highlights I saw. I mean, he was going against some lower competition in that conference, but he kind of looks like a copy of Rob Gronkowski, who just retired with the New England Patriots, and I think he might even get picked even later in that first round. So it could be he could be a steal even for some other teams. But other guys, like say on the offensive line, David Edwards out of Wisconsin, I still think is a good pick in the second round. Also a Caleb McGarry, who's getting some first round love as well. But I did see in some recent mock drafts today that he was slipping a little bit, so that could benefit the Chargers to get him later in the second round. As far as offensive line, I think we're good. But going back to the defense, Zach Allen, he's like a defensive end / outside linebacker for Boston College. I think he'll be better as outside linebacker, where he's just a stand-up guy. He's not going to play inside or the middle linebacker position because he's not that fast, but he's good enough to go against bigger, fatter guys on the offensive line. So I think he'd be better suited for that position. And going for more second-round guys, let me check. And then a Deontay Thompson as well, another Alabama guy that I really like. You always got to go for at least one of these guys. They've always missed on a safety. They missed a few years ago when I told them that I wanted them to get Eddie Jackson, who's already in his second year a Pro Bowler for the Chicago Bears and almost a Defensive Player of the Year this year, and it's only his second year. But also guys like Juan Thornwell as well from Virginia. Pretty surprising when I finally found him out, but he's he's a pretty good player for the team he was playing on, and he just stood out the most out of those guys. And also in a guy like Mack Wilson, another Alabama product at the linebacker position. Yes, I have been projecting him to go to the first round, but I think he's even slipped into the third or fourth round, so getting him in the second would be pretty obvious that he'll still be available, I think. But maybe some other team likes him early. You just never know with the draft nowadays, but let's just get on to that third round. For the third round, I am going to go more offensive guys, so running backs, wide receivers, finally. But a guy in Bryce Love, who I really disliked a lot while he was at Stanford because he did really well against USC a lot of the times, and he has a lot of potential. He should have been a first-round pick even last year, but he decided to go back, and then, of course, that he went back, he got injured even more. And now that's why he's projected to go into the third or fourth round, which is why I'm selecting him in the third round for the Chargers, because you never know what's going to happen with Melvin Gordon. This is his final year of his rookie deal, but you don't know if he's going to want to go somewhere else where he's more familiar with, as far as like a hometown or somewhere where he went to college. But you just never know how that stuff works sometimes, so you got to be prepared for stuff like that. Then also another running back in David Montgomery from Iowa State. He's always been pretty productive, and ever since I saw him a few years ago, so I just think he's a pretty good find right there in the third round. And then the wide receivers, we could go pretty crazy here. And David Sills, a guy who was once a USC commit when he was 13 years old because he was offered to be a quarterback there. And of course, somehow that gave him too much press and everything. And he even went to a different school, switched positions to be a wide receiver, but he's actually pretty good. He had some really good numbers the past couple years, so I really like him a lot. And also J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, another Stanford guy who always likes to beat people on the top because he's very tall, but he has long strides so he can get by smaller defenders. So that's a pretty good guy to have on your team. Another wide receiver in the name of Emmanuel Hall, who's the wide receiver to the quarterback of Drew Lock, who I would want to be picking in the first round. I just think that was his number one guy. You saw a lot of tape on him making plays for his quarterback, and that's the type of guy, especially for a guy like Phillip Rivers, who's getting up there in age and needs any bit of help he can get, really. But yeah, as far as offensive line guys, I believe the last guy is this Michael Dieter from Wisconsin. That's the only top offensive line guy I have left, because everybody else you get later, and they're not really going to change your team unless they somehow become really good. But as for right now, I don't think any of those guys can. And as far as defense, Ben Banogu, he's another guy like Zach Allen who would be selected in the second round, but in the third round, Ben Banogu, because he's a little bit smaller, but he can play that outside linebacker position where he stands up on the line and isn't a middle or inside linebacker, but could be very disruptive on the outside. If we go to another third round, and Gerald Willis III, a defensive tackle out of Miami, just a big guy. He had a lot of great numbers and stats, especially out of Miami, which is a pretty good school. So kind of pretty much a steal, in my opinion, in the third round. Another guy in, you know what, I forgot to mention Jermaine Pratt, the linebacker for the round 2. Let me talk about him real quick. So I saw some more video on him. He did go to a pretty good school too in North Carolina State. He's a very fast linebacker as well, but I think he could play more of that inside to middle linebacker position. That's why I think he's a little bit better. That's why he would be selected in the second round. But another third round linebacker is Blake Cashman out of Minnesota. He just had a lot of gaudy stats, which means a lot of stats if people don't know what gaudy means. But yeah, he's a very consistent guy. I think he could also play the inside to middle linebacker positions, just depending on what down it is and what team he's playing against. Let me look for any more third rounders. Sorry, I'm a professional, obviously. But yeah, no more third rounds, and there's going to be a lot more in the fourth, obviously, because there's going to be more guys available, but let's just get to that. Yeah, so no more quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, in my opinion, or even offensive linemen that could really help this late in the draft. They're just going to be projects or guys you could have on your practice squad or anything like that. See if you could try them out, even if they're going to make your team. But as far as fourth round guys, especially on the defensive side, guys like a Max Crosby, who did go to a smaller school. He's probably not as big or built enough to play his position, but I think he's a guy who's probably not going to get that much attention just because of the way he looks, and then he'll actually be productive that way because they're not going to scheme to block him, and then he's actually going to get some stats. So I think that's why he could help out, because he is pretty good at sacking and getting tackles for loss. And another guy I noticed pretty late in the process was Chase Hansen, a linebacker slash safety out of Utah. I never really noticed him when USC played Utah, but I think he's going to project to play either a nickel, which means he could play both positions, or probably just linebacker, probably inside, because he can't probably call the plays and run the defense as a middle linebacker. But he's definitely versatile, because if you get injuries in the secondary, then he could go play that as well for you. So I think that's why a lot of these guys, third and fourth round guys, are guys who could play a couple of different positions, and that's what the Chargers really like, and that's what they went after last year, so that's what I'm kind of going with this year as well. Let's see, another fourth round, Andrew Wingard, or Wingard. He's another safety out of Wyoming. I think he'll stay at that position, but maybe a strong safety instead of a free safety, because he's probably not that smart. But he did get a lot of tackles, especially even his freshman year. I noticed him because he had over 100 tackles already. But Wyoming wasn't always the best place for him to play, obviously. I think only Josh Allen was really the one getting that much attention out of that school, the quarterback, and that was only for his first 2 years, and then the last 2 years he hasn't really been on the map. But I think that's why he could be a steal here in this round, because he is a pretty productive player and is pretty feisty in my opinion. Who else is number 4? And a Tavon Coney, a linebacker out of Notre Dame. Yes, I still think he was pretty good. I'll go with him. He's a fast guy. He can play the inside and middle linebacker, along with Cameron Smith, who from USC, who I think could play those same positions as well, because you need to be smart, and I know you need to be fast. That's why Coney would be a better pick, but because Cameron Smith is so much smarter, he could play that the middle linebacker position that calls the plays, and it's like the quarterback of the defense. So I think that's why he's a pretty good pickup right here. And then a random pick is a punter in the name of Mitch Wishnowsky out of Utah. He's one of the better prospects at punter coming out this year, if you wanted to go through the draft to get one, because they haven't really made a run in free agency at a guy at that position. So I just kind of think they're going to probably draft, and I think if this guy goes later, like 5th or 6th round, if you try to look for him there, he's not going to be available. So just take him now, the position you need, and if he's as good as they say, you won't have to worry about that position for the next 15 years, in my opinion. Alrighty, so 5th round and basically 6th and 7th round guys who I think are going to get drafted, because there really wasn't that many available. But of course, on the defensive side, we got, if I can find him, Amon Marshall, the cornerback out of USC. I still think even while he was at USC, he should have been playing a different position, like a linebacker or a nickel, which means he could play both. He could go back and forth and pretend to be playing both positions. But I hope that's what he's going to end up be doing in the NFL. That's why he would be getting picked this high, because he's like a Swiss Army knife. You can have him at both sides. But if not, then he's probably going to end up getting picked later. So that's why I kind of have him in this range. Also, two guys in Ronheen Bignum. He's a guy from Arkansas State, and he's not probably as well known, but he did test very well at his pro day and some other stuff, and he's been impressing a lot of teams in like private workouts or meetings that they're having with them, and he's a pretty big dude that even come out of a small school, so that's a guy who I think maybe in the 6th or 7th round that they can get. Another safety or kind of tweener guy who could play a couple of different positions is Cam Hilton out of Missouri. He's a pretty hard-hitting tackler guy, but he can also intercept the ball. He has a lot of interceptions as well, and passes batted down, so he can get in there and make plays because of his speed. And then a guy who I didn't really put a picture up, but I have him. I wrote him down and I crossed him out, but I wanted to get his name out there just in case, because I did watch a Chargers backstage thing last night, and the main scout was at Arizona State that they were filming him at, and they didn't show the guy who I think they're going to pick, but if anything, I think he would be there to look at that guy more than anything. And his name is Renell Wren. He's a defensive tackle, defensive lineman from there. He's a pretty big guy, kind of like a Gerald Willis, but probably not as good as Willis in my opinion, so I think he could go in this area 5 to 7. I just wasn't sure if I should put him in there, but I thought I'd mention him real quick, give him some love, and if they picked him correctly, then I was correct. So there you go, first one that said it. So yeah, that's just how it's gonna go. I don't know if I mentioned Hunter Renfrow in the 4th round as a wide receiver from Clemson, another guy I've been really high on the past few years. Thanks for watching, people. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. It's gonna be very fun tonight. Hopefully nothing too crazy happens. Enjoy Avengers. Looks like I got caught up at the end, but what I was trying to say was it's gonna be a great night. Enjoy the draft if you can, or if you even do. Next few days if you like to, and then also enjoy Avengers Endgame weekend. Obviously way too packed and too crazy to even want to go or even think about going this week, so definitely gonna wait for next week or two. It just depends on what's happening and everything like that. Like I was saying before, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think, and have a great rest of your day. Let's go Chargers. Y'all should definitely do yourself a favor real quick. If you haven't seen that movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner, directed by Ivan Reitman, definitely a must-see if you're into sports movies. Definitely a sports classic in my opinion, up there, right up there with movies like Warrior or Friday Night Lights. Definitely if you want to get into the mood of what Draft Day can be and the possibilities, especially since today is only the 1st round, definitely check that out. It's a very good movie. Okay, bye.